Okay, so fine. In the last session we just tested up to receipt write-off. Okay, in today's session we'll see customer refund. If you want to refund amount back to the customer with the reason of the payment repetition or like some excess amount, any scenario you can take. So we'll see the process of refunding and what are the setups required if you want to refund the payment back to the customer. So here to go with the example, what we'll do is we'll create one transaction with some amount and we'll create receipt with more than transaction amount. We'll apply up to transaction amount, remaining unapplied amount. You know, as we tested yesterday, we can write off or else we may keep on customer account. The other option is we can refund it back to the customer. Okay, that example anyway we'll see what setups required if you want to perform the customer refund. To perform the customer refund, first we have to set minimum refund amount in the system options. Say set minimum refund amount in system options. In system options we have to specify, that means within that BU level, business unit level. So what should be the minimum refund amount if you want to refund amount, that you have to specify. After that, so we have to set up approval limits for a user to perform the refund. When you compare with EBS, in case of EBS, to perform the refund, we don't need to set approval limits. For write-off only we have to set, but here as additional setup we have to complete this. So set approval limits for user to perform refund. Okay, and when you perform the refund, the system has hit that amount to the specific refund account. So that account we can define through receivables activity. So create receivables activity for refund. Done. So these are the basic setups we have to complete. After completing these basic setups, we can go with a simple case study where we can just create the transaction, or else it could be resulted through RMA, customer sales returns also, but here we are not going to test that, where that everything will be routed from OM to AR and finally to AP. So here what we'll do is, just to test this functionality, we'll create one transaction. Say create transaction. We'll go and create the transaction, say with $9,000, and we'll create receipt. That means say we received 10,000 from customer, and we can apply 9,000 only. Okay, the remaining outstanding unapplied amount would be 1,000. This 1,000 unapplied amount we can apply on another transaction, or we can keep on customer account. If customer requests, we can refund it. Now we are going with a refund. This 1,000, how to refund, we'll see. If you want to refund this 1,000 amount back to the customer, we should remit the receipt. Say after that we have to remit receipt. We have to remit the receipt to bank. Once receipt status is remitted, system will allow us to perform the refund. Say create customer refund. The moment you perform the customer refund, okay, so this, the moment you perform the customer refund, automatically system will create payment request in the payables against the same customer by creating the customer as a party in the payables with the same refund amount. We'll see that. Say system creates payment request invoice type in AP. So the payment should be processed from payables only. So that is the reason whenever you want to refund, The initiative you can take from receivables, but that will trigger the payment request invoice creation API to process the payment to customer as a refund. We'll see this. So first we have to set the minimum refund amount in system options for our BU. Go to our implementation project. Even if you compare with EBS also same setups. Okay. So but there we don't need to set approval limit, but here we have to set approval limits also. So just click on overview and open the project. Search for system options. Manage receivable system options. Select our business unit. Just click on BU name. Go to cash processing tab, and here you could see minimum refund amount. So if amount is going to be minimum $100, then only we process refund. Okay, set that as a minimum amount. Then the next step is we have to set approval limit for the user to perform the refund. Fine. So we know, like already we have seen in the last session, so we cannot set self approval limits for the user. So for that reason, just we have to sign out from this user. From other user login, we can set the approval limits for this Google user. So we log in as a different user. So Fusion India. So search for the task called as approval limits that you can find from the project or directly from FSM homepage. Go to search approval limits. Manage approval limits. Click on add. Username is Google. Document type credit memo refund, even it is just refund or credit memo based refund, whatever, just you have to select document type as a same. Okay, so you may just have a RMA customer may say like we may get a sales returns. In that case, based on the RMA transaction which we create in order management, we know system creates credit memo. Based on that also we perform refund. For that, the scenario could be that at this whatever you should select this document type. It may not be credit memo based refund, but still if you want to perform the refund process in receivables, it's a mandatory you have to set this. Select currency. So minimum and maximum limits, approval limits to perform the refund. So this user can perform the refund up max $5,000. Done. Now we have to create the receivable activity. We'll just sign out from this user. Okay, you can search for the task called as receivables activities from the project or from the FSM page. Receivables activities. Task name is manage receivables activities. So we completed these two tasks setups. Now we have to create the receivable activity for customer refund. Just click on create. Selector or BU, and activity purpose is refund. Google refund. And activity type is refund, customer refund, and provide relevant account. So search for customer refund account. The corporate account value set someone disabled all the accounts. Okay, when you are practicing on this instance, if you don't find specific account, you can go and enable. You can see that. If you think it is not available, you may create it. So save and close. Done. So we are ready with the setups. Now we can go with this simple case. Okay, create transaction with the $9,000. Go to transaction workbench. Say create transaction. Transaction source. Google invoice. Customer details. Google customer 1. Anything you can enter, or else you can select item. As we just discussed, $9,000. And say complete and close. So system will display the transaction number. $2,001. Now switch to receipt workbench by clicking on accounts receivable task. Click on task list. Click on create receipt. We'll create receipt with $10,000. Say we received 10,000 from customer. Received amount is $10,000. We received from which customer? Google customer 1. Customer site is some, so that number specification you can give. Now you can say submit and apply. Click on add open receivables. The transaction number is 2001. Search. Click on add and click on done. Save it. Now here we can notice the transaction receipt amount is 10,000 and total applied amount is 9,000 only, because outstanding is 9,000 and unapplied amount is 1,000. So if you want to refund this 1,000, we cannot do it. If you go to actions and if you go to more, here you could see issue refund is disabled. The reason is the receipt status is confirmed. If you want to refund any amount from any receipt, the receipt status should be minimum remitted. At least it remitted. It's not mandatory that has to be cleared in the bank which you represent through your cash management. Okay. So now what we can do is we'll go and perform. Just notice the receipt number new one. We given the receipt number as new one. So save and close. We'll go and perform the remittance. That's what we discussed here. So we created transaction, we created receipt and applied. Now we have to remit the receipt. So within the receipt workbench, go to task list. Here you could see first we have to create the receipt remittance batch, then we have to approve it. You can minimize, you can see the full task name. Create receipt remittance batch. After that we have to go to manage receipt remittance batch to approve it. First click on create receipt remittance batch. So you want to find out the receipts by following which criteria. The receipts which are belongs to this receipt class and receipt method is Google check. Then you can, with this criteria, you want to remit the receipts. Click on add receipts into this remittance batch. Okay, you can give the receipt number. You don't need to go with all the receipts. Just search for the receipt. Yes, this is the receipt we want to remit. Click on select, click on apply and say done. Now we selected one receipt into this batch. Okay, only one receipt we selected. Now click on save and close. So that means we are creating the remittance batch we created. The receipts which we have within this batch, those need to be approved. Okay, just here go to manage receipt remittance batches and find out the receipt remittance batch here. You can search with our, you can find with our business unit search. So this is a batch system created. Now you select. You could see the process status is completed creation. Click on approve. Okay. So to see the status against this batch, once again you can click on search and wait for some time. Completed approval. Just this action which we have to perform on this. So we are done with that. So we perform the remittance. Now we can go and check that receipt status also. So go to manage receipts, provide receipt number. Receipt number is new one. Receipt status is remitted. If receipt status is remitted, we can perform the refund against the receipt if applicable. Here within that receipt, in the remitted receipt, we have $1,000 as unapplied. If you want to refund this $1,000, the process is you can go to actions, go to more. Here you could see issue refund is enabled. If you want to perform the refund, so if you perform the refund, what system will it will create the payment request invoice in the payables. So before that, you have to make sure that payables period is open for current month. We'll go and check AP period status. If it is not open, we'll open it, then we can perform it. Switch to payables. Okay, current period May month is open already. Fine, no issues. Same time GL period also open. Right now you can go to receipt workbench by clicking on accounts receivable, find receipt, find receipt with the receipt number. Just click on receipt number. Now to perform the refund, go to actions, go to more, click on issue refund. So $1,000 are unapplied amount we have, which is remitted. So we want to refund $1,000 partial amount, that we can specify. We can go with 1,000 and see customer party profile. So when you create the customer, if you don't create customer address with the detailed information, customer address definition is completely optional fields. All fields are optional. Okay, if you keep it the customer address as incomplete, here you cannot find the customer information once you click on just this drop down option. Okay, if you provide detailed information at the time of customer definition as a customer address, then only you can find the customer site. So we are able to see reason we given the detailed information at the time of customer definition. Done. So now how we are going to refund that amount back to the customer, by using which payment method, say check, and that's all. If you are crossing through different electronic and all, the customer bank account and all required. So now you can say okay, or you can save it. Now system will create payment request invoice in payables. The same invoice number you could see here as a application reference number. The refund was not processed because the payables invoice was not created for the following reason. Enter at least one location. Okay. Just 1 second. So we'll go to payable related setup. Let's see there. Basically it has to through with this action. Why it is talking about location, it won't look for location also, it will create without site also that's how we have function. We'll check it once. Go to invoice options. you could see payment request system will create with immediate priority and all. Here we don't have location. Manage customers. You no need to specify anything. Just will try to do it once again. So select it, go to actions, go to more, say issue refund. This site we selected already, right? Earlier. Done, done, done. Google address we given. Check we selected. Say OK. It should work. It should not give any message out here. Save it. What's wrong with this? The refund was not processed because the payables invoice was not created for a reason. Enter at least one location. Where we have to enter the location? Okay. So we are getting this issue because the BU is not specified, location is not specified at our business unit level. Fine. Just cancel it. Go to our business unit. Search for business unit. Manage business unit. Even if you don't specify BU location name, if you don't select location for business unit, when you process expense report also you will have issue. You cannot process expense reports. Click on BU name. Location is missing for BU. That is the reason we are getting that error message. Okay, select any one of the location. Okay, it will resolve this. Anyway, we have defined US, so you can select Redwood City. It says save and close. Now you can go and perform the same activity. It will allow us. Click on the sheet number and go to actions, go to more, say issue refund. Just say OK and save it. It will create the payment request and the payables, the same number it will display here. The invoice number which system created. This is the number. With this number, payment request is created in the payables. You can click on this, you can see the details. From here you can drill down. So this is the invoice which is created in the payables. Business unit, supplier or party name is Google customer. Automatically system created the customer as a party, and that is available in the payables because of this TCR structure. And supplier site is taking customer site, Google site, and address and invoice type payment request. So that's how it's created. If you want to find the same invoice from payables, you can go and find it. This is the invoice number. You can switch to payables and you can see that. Let's say save and close. Here it is showing. Click on this. So this is the invoice number creating. So payment invoice type is payment request. So this is our system can create payment request invoice automatically whenever you perform the customer refund. So this is all about setups and process. We talk about customer refunds. Now see the aging buckets. Okay, just to know that to generate the report against the customer outstanding based on the time periods. We can create the aging bucket. The same you could see terminology as aging methods in the Fusion. In EBS you see aging buckets. The same terms, the terminology they are using, but as a task they given as aging methods. We'll just create the aging methods. After creating aging methods, you can select that aging method into report as a parameter and you can run the report which will produce the relevant results as per aging buckets or methods which you are defining. We'll see that. We'll go and create the aging methods, nothing but aging buckets. So go to implementation project. Search for aging methods. Click on manage aging methods. Click on go to task icon. Just 1 second. It's search for aging methods. It's not opening. There may be some issue with the task. We'll see that later. Okay, we'll look at revenue recognition. Okay, same functionality as is they given how we have in EBS case. We know like to recognize the revenue based on the rules. So as a mandatory we have to do few setups. Okay, first we'll see those setups. Once we're done with the setups, we can just proceed with the generating the transaction where system will recognize the revenue. Before that, the revenue distributions also the distributions as well as revenue recognition. Okay, we'll see that. So for this, what setups required even EBS or Fusion the same, like first we have to set up auto accounting for revenue recognition. So configure auto accounting for revenue recognition. So basically we have to set up accounts called unbilled receivables and unearned revenue depending on in advance or in arrears invoicing rule. the system use those accounts. So once we're done with that, we have to create the accounting rules. In case of EBS, we call it accounting rules. What purpose we create accounting rules? For revenue scheduling purpose. Since we are using the accounting rules for revenue scheduling purpose, here the same accounting rules, instead of calling it as accounting rules, so we call it as revenue schedules only. Say we have to create revenue schedules. It's nothing but as per EBS accounting rule. Accounting rule we create for the purpose of revenue scheduling. So that is the reason in the Fusion they given the name itself revenue schedules. That's all. So once we're done with that, we'll create the transaction. So we'll create the transaction including uh, invoicing rule specification and revenue schedules. Then system will help us to recognize the revenue. So we'll run revenue recognition. Okay, so that we can understand. It's all about accounting logic, we know. So we'll see that. So first we have to set up auto accounting for two accounts, unbilled receivables and unearned revenue, right? Right, we know like unbilled receivable system will use, if you go with the invoicing rule as in arrears, if you go with in advance as a invoicing rule, system will use unearned revenue account. We'll go and set up these two and we'll proceed with the rest. Go to auto accounting setup. So from project or outside of the project you can perform this. Let's do it from project. Search for auto accounting rules. So manage auto accounting rules. As a basic setup, we completed auto accounting for only two accounts only, receivables and revenue. Now for the purpose of revenue recognition, we'll set for two more accounts, which are mandatory and required. So click on create. Select our business unit. Account type you can select unbilled receivable. Search for unbilled receivable account. Here this equals say start. Select and say okay. Say create another. Now create auto accounting rule for unearned revenue. Say done. So for unearned revenue and unbilled receivables, we created account auto accounting rules. So save and close. Done. Now we have to create the revenue schedules. Search for revenue schedules task. Here you could see manage revenue scheduling rules. Click on go to task icon. Here you can create fixed schedule or variable schedules. Say create. Select reference data set. We can go with the common. Say Google 4 months contract. Type is fixed schedule. Number of periods as we mentioned in the name 4. So equally it will distribute. If you want to change, you can change the percentage by placing the cursor in that. Total should be equal to 100. Say done. Now we'll go and create the transaction. Within the transaction will include the invoicing rule and the account rule. Okay, that's how we can. System will create accounting. Once you run the revenue recognition, it will recognize the revenue for respective period. Go to transaction workbench. Google invoice transaction source and select invoicing rule as in advance or in arrears, how you want accounting depending on business scenario. Here we'll go with in advance, so system will create, system will use unearned revenue account, and in subsequent periods it will reverse unearned revenue and it will be hitting the same amount to revenue account, right? So select our customer, Google customer, and say 4 months contract, and click on revenue scheduling, and here you give all the specifications. Say the contract value is 1 lakh. Now here we have a tab called as revenue scheduling, or else you can scroll little right, you can find it here. Revenue scheduling you can get here. Instead of scrolling, what you could do is you can click on revenue scheduling, it will get that section here. So rule name we given as Google 4 months contract, 4 months. Within that rule, what we specified, system will displace. Revenue scheduling, what should be the start date? We'll go with the today date, so that system will recognize the revenue for current month also immediately. So done. You can say complete and close. Now system will hit that, system will create the revenue distribution for the 4 months, and once you run the recognition, it will recognize the revenue. So to recognize the revenue, you can run from under revenue tab, okay, or else directly from ESS job page also you can run the revenue recognition job. Go to ESS job page. From any place, it's all about submitting the request. Okay, recognize revenue. This is the job we have to submit. Just say okay. The other default parameters, even you could see the same. The background jobs or workers to process this. So revenue need to be it has to be scheduled for 4 months, and it will recognize for current month. Anyway, once you create the transaction, it will schedule, but recognition will happen now. Okay, we could see here the jobs are completed. Now you can go to the transaction. It's done. We go to transaction workbench. So manage transactions. Transaction date is today. Search. So 2002 with 1 lakh, right? Just open this, click on transaction number, and go to actions. Say review distribution. So you can see that as that amount is distributed across the 4 months, and it's recognized for current month. So receivables 1 lakh, and it will have a unearned revenue 1 lakh. Unearned revenue 1 lakh. Only current month we run that revenue recognition. That is reason. So that is taking above, that means it will get knocked off, and that would be recognized as a revenue. So for which month this is a 1 lakh, it is taking above here, in the sense it is recognizing, it is getting knocked off for which month? Current May month. That means May month revenue will get recognized. So remaining months, which months we didn't run the revenue recognition for June, July, August, it is showing below to this 1 lakh. Once you run in the May month, this also goes up and it will get knocked off, and that respective period revenue will be get recognized. The same logic how we have in EBS, as is the solution they taken here. So this is how just you can do the configuration and you can recognize the revenue based on the rules which you define.
Lakshman, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Um, so here we are saying it's for 4 months. At the invoice line in the description we are saying 4 months, but we haven't provided any end date. So how does the system knows it's for 4 months? We're only giving the start date. Are
Yes.
we giving any date that is?
4 months means you don't need to give end date, right? 4 months means 4 months. Months.
Where are we mentioning it's 4 months?
In the rule definition, right? We mention in the rule definition. When you are creating the rule, your revenue schedule, revenue scheduling rule. There we given, right? 4 we given. I written the name as well as I entered 4 also.
Okay. Is it possible to default the revenue scheduling rule at the line level?
No, no, no. We cannot default it. There is no option they given. There will be a number of rules. You are creating the transaction by to include which rule, you have to select it. The checkbox, the provision they didn't provide. See, because that it may be, see you when they are dealing with the revenue recognition, generally they'll have many rules. So if they set one default by mistake, if it is getting defaulted, it may just have it. That's a relevant calculation. So we have to choose it. We have to select it. Once you select within that rule, whatever the information we have, everything would get defaulted. Okay, rule itself we cannot default. Okay, fine. That is a point we have to understand here. Okay, so that's all about revenue recognition. We'll see the balance forward billing. So when you talk about balance forward billing, it's all about consolidated billing. In EBS 11I, we call it as consolidated billing, right? In EBS release 12, they changed the name to balance forward billing, BFB. The same name is they taken in Fusion also. Balance forward billing, which we can use for consolidated billing purpose. So instead of billing the customer for each and every transaction separately, multiple transaction you can just take into one bill generation by using this balance forward billing functionality. Now, if you want to create the consolidated bill for multiple transactions against the specific customer, so what setups we have to do, we'll see. First, we have to create the billing cycle. Sorry. So first we have to create the billing cycle. Okay. So we'll see the setups which need to be performed. Create balance forward billing cycle. So here we'll specify how often we do the billing to the customer. We send the bill to a customer, and when you do this billing, which payment terms should be applicable, that we have to specify. Within the payment terms, we have to use balance for billing. So we can assign this balance for billing cycle to existing payment term, or else we can create new payment term. Within that, we can include this balance for billing cycle. Anything, just we can go with any option. So including this balance for billing cycle in existing payment term, or creating the new and including. We'll create new payment term for this purpose, or else you can use existing. Say create uh, payment, or else let's call it as, since we are going to use it for balance for billing cycle, we call it as create balance forward billing payment terms. Means within the payment term we are going to include balance forward billing cycle. So we'll go and create the, in the customer profile class level we have to enable the balance for billing, and the same balance for billing payment term also we have to include in that. We can do that for existing customer profile class, or we can create the new one. We'll go and create a new one. So create balance for billing customer profile class, and this profile class you can assign to any existing customer, or for testing purpose we can create separate customer for this balance for billing testing purpose. Let's create new customer, create BFB customer. To test this functionality we'll have a separate customer. Then finally we have to assign BFB customer profile class to BFB customer. So these are the basic setups. It's not mandatory you have to create separate payment term, separate profile class, separate customer. So you have to create the billing cycle. This you can assign to existing payment term. That existing payment term you can select into customer profile class, which is already defined. We have to enable BFB and we have to assign. Then that you can assign to existing customer. That's how you can manage. We are going everything as a new separate definition. Then we can understand. So what are the points we have to consider? Okay. So once we're done with that, we'll create 2 3 transactions. Okay, create few transactions. After creating the few transactions, we'll go and run. It's not revenue recognition, right? Balance for billing. Okay, we'll generate the balance for billing. Instead of saying run, say generate for balance forward billing. Okay, report. Consolidated bill you can generate. We'll see this. First, we have to create balance forward billing cycle. So just go to setup, search for balance forward billing cycle. Okay, manage balance for billing cycles. Just click on create. So you can provide the cycle name. So Google BFB cycle. Else you can call as BFB monthly cycle. Monthly once you want to do the billing. Start date you can take today's date. And frequency, how often you want to do the billing. That you can, we already written our monthly. The same you can select here monthly. Okay, monthly. How many months once? Every month or 2 months once, 3 months once. Repeat every 1 month. Okay, every 1 month. On which date you want to do the billing? Every month you want to do the billing. Every 1 month. Okay, on which date you want to do the billing? You can specify. Okay, so specific date you can select. Now since we are going to do bill today itself, I'll just select every month 17. This is how you can give specification. So done. We created billing cycle. How often, on which date you want to bill to the customer for, by just consolidating multiple transactions. So after that we will just go on to create the payment terms. So search for payment terms. Here we have the same task. Manage receivables payment terms. So once you consolidate multiple transactions, once you send the bill to customer, within how many days the customer has to pay? Monthly once you are going to send the bill to customer. Say today, I mean say on the 10th one transaction, 11th one transaction, 13th, 14th one transaction, but immediately you are not going to send the bill every month. 17th you send the bill. Once you send 17th, from 17th, how many days, within how many days customer has to pay, sorry, that can be calculated by payment terms, right? So that you can specify here, create payment terms for that purpose. Reference data set name is common. So you could say Google BFB. Well, means this payment term will be using for balance for billing purpose. So net 20. It's not taking this many character space. 20. I'll say N20. Once you do the billing for all the transaction, customer has to pay within 20 days. So by following which balance for billing this is applicable, that you can select our billing cycle. Google BFB monthly cycle. Invoice amount based discount if it is applicable. Include tax and freight in the first installment. So we mentioned here 20. The same you can specify here. Within 20 days. Once you send the bill, from the date onwards, system will count 20 days. So save and close. Since you are including the balance for billing cycle within the payment term we are calling as balance for billing, or else you can include the same billing cycle in any one of the existing payment term. Done. Now we'll go and create the customer profile class. Search for customer profile class. Receivables customer profile class. Click on go to task icon. So in the existing payment term also you can just go and open that. You can enable balance for billing and you can select BFB payment term. That way we can use existing also. We'll create separate one. Google BFB profile. We created as something like Google, right? Google collector. Now balance for billing. Yes, this profile class we want to use for balance for billing. So enable it. What level you want to generate the consolidated bill? What level you want to generate? Account level. Account will have a multiple sites if you define. Otherwise site you can select account. So you may have multiple customer sites. For all sites it will create one bill by consolidating. Account level you want to generate bill or site level. So bill should be detail or summary. Say detail. And payment terms you should select which payment terms consist of the balance for billing cycle definition inside of it. So within this we selected balance for billing cycle also. So select the same payment term. And statement cycle and all you can select here. Done. I can say save and close. Now we'll go and create the customer, or else for existing customer you can assign this balance for billing cycle. We'll just create customer. It's a very simple task. So create customer. You can give the name as Google BFB customer. Select reference data set. Just fill this address even everything is optional. If you don't provide this address detail information, so normally when you perform the customer refund, this address cannot be displayed. Set this address purpose. Now assign balance over billing cycle to this customer. System is showing matching organization. Select existing organization. No, this has to be created new only. We have a Google INC, Google Corporation. Those are totally different. Say okay. Now assign a BFB customer profile class to this customer. Find our customer. Just click on customer account. Go to profile history. Go to actions, say correct record. We have one default profile class. Switch to Google BFB profile. Just say save and close. We have to default the same at site level also. Go to site number. Just click on site number. Go to profile history. So create site profile. Okay, we complete all the setups. Now we'll go and create few transactions. Say complete and create another. So when you compare the setups with the EBS in the system options level, okay, along with this setup, system options level, we have one just provision as show billing number. We enable show billing number so that for each transaction, system will display along with the transaction number. It shows that invoice is part of which balance for billing. The number it will be displaying, but here we don't have that option. It's straight away transaction number only. Billing number you can see in the bill itself. Fine. We'll create one or two more transactions.
Lakshman,
Yeah, please.
what did you say? The billing number we can see where? since we cannot see here at the transaction level?
Transaction level you cannot see. See, when you create transaction, you will create the number. In case of EBS, once you generate the bill, the transaction is part of which bill you will be able to see next to transaction number. Only you can see the billing number also, consolidated billing number. But here they are not
Yes.
giving that function. They are not giving that.
So how can we differentiate if the transaction is a balance forward billing or a regular
From the back end, you can
here?
verify. From back end, you can just through report you can verify, or else within the bill only you can see that. In the transaction, the front end view, they are not giving that option. Okay. See, it will generate,
Uh,
it will store in the back end. In the previous case, in the system options, will enable the checkboxes show billing number. We are not enabling generate billing number, right? Show. When you say show, it will show in the transaction level. Anyway, it will create and it will store.
okay, so if the user has to see it, they can only see it by running some reports
Yeah,
like
yes, that's how they can.
OTBI report. Okay.
Yeah, we have many reports, right? As a transaction related report, they can run and they can see that. Okay. We have a like consolidated billing report, through that they can see that, or else they can,
Okay.
as per the requirement, they can just create some custom report with a custom, I mean, a few columns, relevant columns, and they can get to know. Okay. It create system creates this number, but it won't display in the front end here. When you compare with EBS, that's the difference. Okay, fine. So we created 3 transactions, and you can just say complete and close. Now we'll go and run the consolidated bill. To run that, you can go to ESS job page. Say generate balance forward billing. Create balance forward bills. So okay, and you can run it draft level or final level. We can go with the final. We are just testing. So output, yes, we required billing cycle. Our billing cycle is Google BFB monthly cycle. So billing date, it's not mandatory. Within the cycle itself, so we given system can understand, but if you want to give, you can give it. That is today date only. We given in the billing cycle. Currency for billing is USD, so that system will fetch only USD transactions. And if this balance for billing cycle where you have, okay, that, I mean, balance for billing cycle assigned to payment term will be part of customer profile class. If it belongs to multiple customers, the customer profile class is assigned to multiple customers, which generates the consolidated billing. You may select for which customer you want to generate the consolidated bill. Okay, in our case, only for one customer. Optionally, you may select the same payment terms, Google BFP, but not mandatory. Anyway, here it will understand. It will produce the report. Just click on submit, and it will generate the bill. Single bill it will generate. It will provide the billing number. So that's how you can submit to the customer as a one bill for multiple transactions, which you call as balance for billing or consolidated billing.
Lakshman?
Yep.
Hello. So I think this balance forward billing is totally dependent on that profile, customer profile, right? The class you defined, wherein you gave balance forward billing enabled.
Yes,
So
only for a,
let's say,
yes.
It's totally dependent on that. So let's say if you have a customer who has a service as well as some product delivered. So for product you don't need to have balance forward billing or something like that. It's just a one time bill. So there is no possibility that one single customer can have both invoices. Like if you have balance forward billing, you cannot have other one with this. I just want to create one customer and have both enabled.
So one customer, both in the sense, see, site level we have option where we can just override the payment terms. That's how you can makes the difference. But one customer both means you cannot do that. If you want to
We
do
have to
site
create
level,
two
you can
different
do it.
customers.
Yeah, please.
You have to create two different customers for the same, like
No, no, no.
to create a,
No, no, no. We don't do in that way.
yeah. So how would this balance forward billing exactly depended on? Like it's only dependent on that profile,
Yes,
right? Customer
profile level.
profile, right?
Profile level. If you specify, that means you want to create for entire what I could say for all the transactions by based
So
on.
for this same customer, can you show me like to create a single bill, like not balance forward? If you even if you run, it should not generate the balance forward.
Go to transaction. There print option would be there, right? You can print it. That's it. That is the meaning of generating the separate bill. When you create the
No,
transaction,
no,
go
no,
to
no, I don't want to create further billing on that. You created a transaction
hmm.
and then you submitted a program called balance forward billing
Yes.
so that it will pick up that invoice
Hmm.
and create a billing of subsequent cycles like one, two, three,
Correct, correct.
four, whenever time kicks in. So now I don't want to create another bill. So one bill is enough. I mean, I sent a customer one bill. I don't want to create a bill for that specific invoice. Maybe some other invoice I want to create it. But this invoice which I want to create, I just want to create for one time. So one specific, I don't want, even if you run balance forward billing, I don't want to create a subsequent bill.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to apply this to specific transaction.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So specific transaction you don't want to apply. In that case, don't use. See your payment terms. I'll tell you in this way. It's all about workaround. There is no direct solution. What you could do is, so you are using net 45. Okay, net 45 as a payment term. You'll be paying within 45 days. Okay, so you do the consolidated billing all the time. So you have a requirement where you don't want to include that specific transaction into balance forward billing. You want to create as a separate billing, right? That is your requirement. Sometimes some transactions you
Right,
don't want to include. In
right,
that
right.
case, so your payment terms are net 45. Then you create two payment terms, net 45, net 45. One with billing cycle, one with without billing cycle. In the okay, this you name it as net 45 for BFB purpose. This is just net 45. Within this net 45 will include balance for billing cycle. Okay, and what are the transaction you enabled all the setups, customer level you enabled everything, all the setups you've done. But when you are creating the transaction, if instead of system will default the payment terms from customer profile class, right, to transaction. When you create transaction, it will take the transaction level payment term. Since you did the setup for balance for billing, this is the payment term system will default to your transaction. Remove this
Right.
and select net 45, which doesn't have any balance for billing cycle inside of it. Now it cannot be, this transaction cannot be selected into balance for billing cycle. That's it. That's
So
all.
it depended on the payment terms instead of the profile. No.
Sorry.
It's dependent on the payment term instead of
Yeah, yeah.
the.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
That would be final consider final. Ultimately, that's what system will consider, which based on profile.
So if it balance forward billing customer profile option, it will consider the payment term as a balance forward billing
Yeah,
criteria
finally,
to.
system will consider payment term only. Within the payment term, balance
Okay,
for billing cycle is there or not. It will see. If cycle is there, it will take into cycle. If cycle is not there, it won't take into that. That's it. So this is how you can make the difference. Okay.
got it, got it.
Yep.
I got confused over there.
Yeah. For now, you could see the bill got generated. See, that's all about just we have to manage. Just it's simply you may call as workaround how you can maintain two payment terms. So that's how you can get that expected output. So billing number is 1001 created. You could see the three transactions inside. For three transactions created. Okay. So this is how just system will create the balance for bill. This is the balance for bill system created for those three transactions. We created 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, three transactions. Okay, done.
So
Billing.
here, Lakshman, meaning the balance forward billing number, right?
Yeah, here is the number. In EBS case, this number only to see a transaction level, they given checkbox for display purpose. But Fusion,
Right,
they are
right.
not giving, so that is the reason we cannot see in the transaction level this. That's all. It generate and store in the database against each and every transaction. Display provision they are not giving. That's all. Fine. So that's all about balance for billing cycle. So the other concepts we'll see the tomorrow session. So we're done with this. In tomorrow session, we'll try to complete. Just it's a simple task. How to review the customer balances. Before that, we have to run certain processes. So that system will fetch the balances which will display. After completing that, we'll see how to load the customers and how to create the auto invoice. Time permits will work on this automatic receipts also tomorrow itself, or else at least we'll try to complete these, and the rest you can see in the other session. Two more sessions required. We can close receivables. So that's all for today. Any questions from anyone, please? If no questions, we'll connect tomorrow and we'll continue from here. Okay, we'll just try to close this everything by end of this month. Any questions from anyone, please?